Hey, what's up guys? Prepared Survivalist here. Alright, we're going to be doing a video today on how to modify a dollar store knife. So let's kind of talk about what we're working with here. So this is just a plain $1 99-cent store, dollar store paring knife. And this is what it looks like after you modify it. So there's some number of differences here. It's got a better sheath, better handle. The blade geometry has been changed a little bit at the tip, and it's been extended all the way to the base of the knife, the edge. Whereas this one has a very rounded tip, not pointy at all whatsoever. And the edge of the blade, the cutting edge, does not go all the way to the end. There's about a ½ an inch there of unsharpened metal. Alright, so before we get into showing how to mod this and improve it, let's kind of talk about the knife itself. So obviously it's a cheap knife, cost-wise and material-wise and quality-wise. I mean, the blade bends. You know, it's not like a cold steel Bushman or something where you can bend it, 90 degrees or whatever, and then it comes back. If you bend this too much, it's going to stay bent. So it's flimsy steel, and it's not meant to be strong, sturdy steel. It's just basically meant to be like a food prep or general purpose cutting knife. I think it even bent it permanently when I did that. So bend it back. You can see how easily that's not strong metal. So why would you want a knife like this to begin with? Well, a lot of people are talking about them nowadays because they're everywhere, and people are picking them up and saying that they're surprisingly good for the cost and for what they are. And to be honest, I don't really think they're worth that much more than the dollar that they cost. I mean, you've got a very cheap piece of flimsy steel that's shaped in a blade, not particularly sharp. Oftentimes the edge will be kind of rolled or burred. Has no tip to pierce. And then the part of the knife that people, especially in bushcraft, like to use is this. You get the best leverage closer to the handle. Is not sharp. It's unsharpened. So it's kind of not a really good design for a knife. The handle's just plastic. It's very thin. It's lightweight and kind of easy to use. So it has its own sheath. Actually looks pretty cool. So for what it is, I guess it's okay. So why would you modify it then? Well, why not, basically? I mean, if you already have the knife, you can spend 5 or 10 minutes, do just a few mods on it, and just make pretty much every aspect of the knife better. So why not do that? Alright, so starting out, let's look at the tip of the knife. Okay. The one with the red handle has a rounded tip. The one with the black handle has a pointed tip. Now, as far as the shape of the knife, it's kind of, I guess you would call it, somewhat resembles like a sheep's foot, where it kind of has a dramatic curve towards the tip at the end, not like a clip point or a drop point. Almost spear point, but the tip isn't centered. So what you're basically going to have to do is take a file, one of the finest metal files you can get, preferably. And then for this particular mod, I want to be careful. But basically, we're going to just come from the top and just angle that down a little bit more. We're not going to try to do too much on the tip. We don't need a perfect pointy tip because it's not going to be strong anyways. I think the reason that they don't put a tip on it is because, number one, for safety, and number two, it would just bend and turn over anyways with heavy use. So that's why they don't want these to be used as weapons. They just want them to be cheap little food prep knives. It's also why it's not sharpened to the end. I don't know if that's part of the manufacturing process that makes it easier, or if a kid or somebody's using it and their finger slides up, they don't get cut there. So it's probably actually just safety reasons that it's not sharp or pointed. Sharpened down there, pointed up top. So basically, really all we're going to do is just kind of file that down at an angle. Like so. If you come over the tip, you're just going to round it out, and then you're going to have to do even more work to get that angle. So you just kind of keep filing it like that, right? And eventually you're going to get enough material off there that round tip is going to turn more into a point. And you can, even if you want, it's going to make the tip very thin, but come on the sides and bring that sharpened edge all the way to the tip. You also risk kind of losing the tip that you made there. That you're probably going to want to use a Dremel tool for. It's going to take a while with the file to get that. I actually Dremel tooled it using the grinding disc. And I don't know if you can kind of tell there, but there's a slight difference in that geometry, and this one definitely has a pointy tip, whereas this one doesn't at all. So work on that, and you can get your tip pointed. Then, since you have the file out, you'll want to come down here, and we'll probably use this to get that off. And I just kind of go at an angle. You don't necessarily want to go straight in. Maybe at first you can. Go both ways. It doesn't matter if you end up going higher up on the blade where it's already sharpened, because you're going to go through with your sharpening stone anyways. And you want a very subtle angle, right? Because if you go in too much, you're just going to remove too much material at too steep of an angle. You can also use your Dremel tool for this as well, but you can see on this one I got a little carried away. Not that it matters, this is such cheap steel. It's not perfect, but it's definitely very sharp, and the sharpness comes all the way to the edge, or all the way to the base. So you just keep working it with the file. None of this has to be perfect, right? Because it's a $1 knife and the mods you're doing are free. So, no harm, no foul. You can start to see metal coming off. Be careful, if you slip here, your finger's going to go straight into the blade. And you can actually see that Got a little carried away up there, but it's fine. So it's going to take a while like this. If you want to use that Dremel tool, that'll help a lot. I'm kind of rushing for the video, and I'll probably cut it short. Just do a little more, see what we can get here. Okay. Yeah, it's only about halfway there. But so basically, you'll keep working that down. You'll get to this. The sharpest part on this knife right now is the base where I did that. It's extremely sharp. And this thing isn't going to hold an edge well, but the steel's so soft that you can run it over a sharpening stone like this. And you remove the burr, it'll bring it right back to razor sharp. Alright, so that's what you can do on the blade itself. Now the handle. You'll notice this handle is rubberized and it's thicker. So what you'll need for that is basically just electrical tape. Got metal shavings on here, so we'll fold this over. And then a 10-speed bicycle inner tube Ranger band. And it tapers up towards the top, so really you need it only about 3 inches, so it'll fit like this. One thing that's kind of cool about this sheath that I got is this was from an old Winchester knife, and it just so happens that this plastic sheath that the dollar store knife comes with fits perfectly right in there like that, almost as though it was meant for it. Then on top of that, the fact that it's got that finger cut out allows the snap to fit perfectly around there. If the Ranger band went all the way to the edge of the handle, the snap wouldn't work on that. Okay, so that works out perfectly for me. You can, like Bass Pro, they sell redhead generic sheaths with no knife for like $5, $10 or something. So you can pick up a sheath or use an old sheath. Or you can always put a Ranger band on this sheath like this and put your ferrule rod in there, whatever stuff you want, just to make it look cooler. This one I actually left the tip orange, so if I drop it or something I can find it easier. And basically, as far as what you're going to do on the handle, that Ranger band isn't going to fit too well on this handle because it's, again, so thin. So it would just slide off. So what you need to do is thicken that up with some, what I use is electrical tape. And I start all the way at the end because I want it to look like it's a black handle. So you just go around and round and round and round and round. You're going to thicken it up with the tape. And you can do it kind of crudely, since that Ranger band is going to be covering a lot of this. You don't necessarily need a lot of tape up here. You just need it really in the middle, because you want it thick enough that Ranger band's going to fit snugly and not come off there. And this electrical tape you can also get at the dollar store for $1. You're actually not going to need that much. The only thing you will need is a file and something to sharpen the knife. Like I said, if you have a Dremel tool or another way to remove the metal faster, that's just going to make it quicker and easier. But you could sit there for 10-15 minutes with that file and eventually you'll get there. Okay, so we've got just about enough tape on there. If you didn't have a Ranger band, you can always just tape it, put some other material on there, hockey wrap, whatever you want, but Ranger band works well. Avoid being cut, put it back in the sheath. All right. So there you go. Now that's 10 times better than that cheap little plastic handle it came with, right? Much, much better. It's going to give you, it's rubberized now, so it's going to give you a better grip. It's going to fill out your hand more. It's going to absorb shock. Another thing it's going to do, it's actually going to make the handle stronger. So, God forbid if you're actually batoning with this thing, it's going to want to break through that plastic, obviously, right along the spine. So the tape and the wrap, it's going to absorb shock and it's going to tighten and kind of strengthen that handle a little bit more. Again, you're just doing some mods to make this better. It's not going to make it great. It's going to make it better than what it was before. So you can see 10-15 minutes. You can mod the knife and have a new handle, new bladed profile, new sheath, and you've got a much better dollar store knife than the stock version that you get out of the store. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.